Hello everyone, hope you are doing great. Myself Varun, and today we will be starting our first session. So, those who are in machine learning field already, this would be very basic for them, and for those who are in different domain or have a different profile, um, I would request them to just go through the video. And if you guys have any issue, you can ping me over my WhatsApp or you can mail me over my mail ID. So, let's start. Here we will be having a Colab notebook. It's pretty easy that to have it. Um, and this will be provided by Google. So once you click on it, this page will open. Okay. Even you can find it in your Google Drive also. Once you enter in your Google Drive, the way you open a sheet, the same way you can open a Colab sheet also. Perfect. So once you click on it, sorry, once you click on it, you will get a page, right? Here you can create a new notebook, and a new notebook will be created. I already created it, so I need not to do it again. I don't want to do it again. Perfect. So once you create a new notebook, you will be redirected to this page, okay? But I want you to have a look at it at this page, which is given by Google. So I just want you guys to just go through the Colab
Hey there.
notebook. Here you will see some features regarding the Colab, okay? Yeah, it's pretty important, so um, just go through it. It's just a short video. So why we'll be using the Colab? Okay, the main reason of using Colab is it has some installed libraries of Python. So you need not to worry about the Python environment on how to set it and to download the libraries and all, right? So we will be using the Colab. Another thing is that sometimes what happen when you trying to install Python, there will be issue and all. So it takes a bit time for you to adjust yourself in this, right? So that is the reason, that is our primary reason to use Colab. Let's get started, okay? We'll be keeping the session short. It would be of 30 minutes, right? So just be with me, right? And in case again I'm repeating, you have any queries, you can ping me anytime, okay? So let's get started. Let's see today what we will cover. I already told you about the Colab, right? Now, after this, there are few things that we'll be discussing. One is modules, you know. Second, we will be discussing about pandas. Okay. Third, we will be discussing about um, loading the data set. Okay. Fourth, we will be discussing about the pre-processing part. So that would be a basic one, okay? Very basic, okay? The fifth one, after the pre-processing is done, we will be let's visualize, yeah, let's visualize something, okay? Let's visualize one graph, okay? Bar graph, okay? And then the last one is, if we get time, then we will see what's, we'll compare basically our pandas with Dask, okay? And this is just optional for those who are like very new to it, but you can just have a look at it once we are on our way, okay? So let's start with modules. So what are modules? Modules are basically just a code which is written, you know, and all you have to do is import it and use it, okay? So we will be using pandas for this session. What is pandas? Pandas is basically a module in Python which helps us to upload our dataset, and we can do number of things on it. Okay, so let's import pandas. So to import pandas, you have to do is import pandas as pd. Okay, so pd is just a reference that we'll be giving it, right? You can name it anything, like let's say I name it as Varun. Okay, import pandas as Varun. So then I will be using it as Varun. Okay, or you can just type it pandas and then you can later references at pandas only. Okay, in general we use pd, so I'm using pd. Now after importing pandas, so what about the data set, right? Okay, so also one thing, how you can execute this cell. So after writing this thing, you have to execute it. Okay, so there are two ways. One is to click on this button. Okay, so let's say you write something. Okay, then you can click on it. Another way is to, if you are on Windows, just press Shift Enter. Okay, so this will run. Now the data set. Okay, two you have to you have two ways. One is to directly access it from your local drive. Another is to upload it here on your Google Cloud. Okay, so on your left section you can see these are some icon here. You have to select the fourth one. Okay, and there is this option of upload. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to click on upload, and then you can have like multiple ways to upload your file. Okay, you can select brand or whatever data you have. Okay, I will be sharing one data that we'll be using today. You can upload that also. Once you upload, you will find the data. Okay, let's upload it. Okay, we will be using a data set. We'll be using this. Okay, so you can see below here. You will have a loader. Okay, it is loading your file. Let's wait for it to load. Okay. Uh, by the time it loads, let's write a few line of code. Okay, so I think it's done. Okay, it's loaded. Perfect. You can see it here. It's loaded now. Now to get this file, what you have to do simply is you have to write pandas dot read xls. Okay, and then you have to mention the file name, that is Netflix underscore titles dot xlsx. Okay, sorry. Yeah, here you have to mention read excel. Okay. Once you run it, let's wait for it. Perfect. Now your file is loaded in your df variable, right? I hope you guys are aware of this particular thing, assignment and all. Now let's say I want to have a look at it. Okay, so all you have to do is you have to type head and you can just run it. Perfect. So now you have the head. It is not your entire data set. It is just the first 5 rows of your data set. So here you can see you have duration of minutes, duration of season, type, whether it's a movie or a TV show, its title, right? The date it was added, release year, rating, description, the show ID. Okay, all these things are here. So let's start. Let's see what's the size of my data, right? So what you have to do is you have to just type df.shape. So in this you can see you have 6236 rows and 9 columns. Perfect. Now let's do one thing. Okay. So we are done with our module, right? This is done. Pandas, we see how it works. Okay. And we are done with our dataset loading. Okay. Now let's do some processing. Okay. What is pre-processing? So pre-processing is basically like going through your data, and then if there is some missing value and some noise, I mean to say some incorrect values in your data, you have to delete it, right? So to delete it, You have to basically use some modules which are there in Python that we'll be using later. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's look at this date added. Okay, on which date it is added, right? So before going forward, let's have a look at few of the modules. One is df dot. Let's say I want to describe my data set. Okay. So what does describe shows you? Okay. So here you can see you have two columns from your data set. One is your release year and another is your show ID. Okay. This is your release year. This is your show ID. So when you describe it, you can get only those that are in integer or in float value. Okay. Once if you want to use df.info and you click on it and you run it, you will see you will get much better information about all your data set. Right? So release year and your show ID is of float type, right? You can see here, perfect, and the others are of object type. Object you can reference to as a string type. Okay, perfect. Now here you can see two things. One is non-null. So if I am talking about the duration of minute, there are 4267 values that are not null. Null, others are null, right? So this was your complete data set, and out of them, they are not null. Rest of them are null. Same is in duration seconds, and the rest are, I would say, 6236. So almost every column has to have some null value. Okay, let's move forward. Let's look into the data first before pre-processing. Let's check. Acha, there is one more thing. If you see this particular date added, okay, it is of object type, right? So the issue with this is we have to change it to date type, because later on when I'll be using it in my visualization, let's say this I don't want it in object type, right? Because it's my date type. If you see date added, it is my date, but here it is showing it as a string, right? So what we will be doing is to change it, you know. So let's define it. Okay, let's change it. um df, to change it, all you have to do is you have to mention from to which particular type you want to change it to. So let's say I want to change it to date type, because it looks very much similar to date type. Okay. So you type it date type, okay, and then all you have to do is just mention the particular column. The column is date added, which we want to convert. Mention it here. Okay, and now let's run it and let's see what will happen. Data frame has no attribute to date time. Okay. So this is not. So this is the data frame. Okay, and this, to convert it to date time, we have to use pandas, right? Because data frame is our loaded. This is our loaded Excel, right? It won't be having any functionality. What functionality we will be using is of pandas only, right? So here I'll be using pandas, and let's run it again. Let's see what will come. Okay, there is again this error which says some issue with the class string. Okay, this may be most probably because either there's maybe some issue in this particular column of mine. So let's go on this column and see what the issue is. Okay, why we are getting the there must be some issue for which we have to look into our column first. Okay, so this is my column, and let's see And let's describe this column first. Okay, what this column is containing, let's have a look at it. Okay, so if you can see this particular column, I have a count of itne 6223 and my total data is of 6236. So first there is some NaN values or null values. So null values are basically like there are few NaNs maybe. These are represented as not a number. Okay. New MBR numbers. Then we have NAT. Okay. This is not a date. Okay. So there may be some issue with this particular column. Let's have a look at it. Let's say I want to check how many null values are here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the null and I'm gonna sum them up. Okay. There is no function sum. Okay. Again, it is throwing some error. Data frame dot is null dot sum. I think this is the way to do it. Right? Perfect. So here you can see there are values true, false, true, false, true, false. False representing that it is not null, and true is representing it's a null value. Let's sum it up. Okay. Once you sum it up, you can see there are 13 values in date added that are basically a null value. Okay. Adding to this, there may be a scenario where you may have values as if like NaN, NAT, then there may be also a scenario where you have date as in mentioned as if this way, right? So it is not possible for you to go each individual cell and correct it manually, right? Because let's say in this data you have 6236. For some data, let's say you have 1 lakh of cells, right? Then it won't be possible to individually go inside it and to update it, right? So what we will be doing is we will be adding a method, right? Which is which what it will do, it will remove my errors, okay, and it will forcefully put it as NAT. So if it's a date, if it's in a date format, okay, if it is in a proper format, my module will update it into a date type. If it is not, it will remove it and convert it as a NAT. NAT is not a date. Okay. So it would be, isn't it interesting? Like you need not to go into individual cell and update it, right? All you have to do is just place it there, and all your um missing value or incorrect value will be updated, right? On the way. Now what it will do? Now, if I check this particular column now, let's do a sum. Okay, let me check my data frame and let's go inside date added. Okay, let's see is null, right? And then let's sum it up. Date added is not there, but date added it is there. Oh, okay. So what I did was मैंने यहाँ पे I assigned it to data frame, right? So मेरा data frame now it becomes just the date column, right? Without any, it's just kind of a simple list. So what I have to do is I have to place it in a proper manner, right? So this is the particular column that I want to update, and I want to save it in my this particular column, which is date added, right? So here again, just do this, okay? So let's rerun it, okay? let's rerun this. So what I've been doing, I'm restarting and run all. Okay, so this will restart my entire structure, and then will run from the first cell. Let's go down. Okay, perfect. Now everything is done. Let's see what our sum will come. It is coming as 14, right? So now what I will do is I basically drop as in like I don't need dates that have empty values, right? So what I will be doing is I will be dropping them. Dropping means like I will be removing those rows. So all my rows that are having null values, okay, I'll be removing them from my database. Okay. So to remove them, all you have to do is you have to type a very small thing. Let's df dot drop now. So drop now, what it will do, it will drop your things that are having null values. Okay, so your subset is this, and the duration is, let's say, okay. Now see if I print the shape of this, right? My shape will, oh, sorry, so here I have 6222 and above I have 636. So 14 of my rows will be removed from it. Okay. So this is one of the things. Here you can like, so this is what pre-processing is. What you will be doing, you are getting into it and then you will be removing the null values, right? Then or at the same time you will be changing the date type, right? So if you see this particular column, I forgot to tell you, if we see now that what's the type of our data frame, right? So what we will do is we will just, if we describe it, okay, let's describe this thing. Okay, describe is only for float values. Info, so in info, if you see, no, the date added is now converted to date type field. Why? Because I change it to the type, and if it found any NaN or some incorrect value, it just removes it. Okay, it replaces it with NaN or NAT, and then I remove that particular row. So now I have only that number of rows, and in these rows I have this column as date added, which is of date type, and it contains all the fields having a date type only. So all my rows are clear now, right? So let's move forward. Let's print our data head again. Okay, and there's one interesting thing. So if you just don't want to print your entire data set, right, you can just mention it the number of rows you want to print initially on top of it. Okay, let's print 3 only. Perfect. Now let's move forward and let's do something. So this is just a basic pre-processing. Okay, we will be doing this on the go. Let's visualize a graph. Okay, so to visualize it, let's take two columns. Uh, let's take the release year and duration minute. Okay, so we'll be taking the duration minutes and the release year. Perfect. So let's go ahead and first check what we have in our release year. Okay, so the plot would be the average. What would be the average duration of my movies or TV shows in each year? Okay, so to do it, what I will be doing is I will be creating a data frame. Let's name it as average duration. Okay, and from my data frame I will be fetching only so I need only those data, right? I need it only for two values, and I need it for release year and type. Not the type, but for the minute, right? So to get that minute thing out of it, let's do one thing. Uh, First, let's check. We'll be assigning it to the group later. Let's check what we have in our um, release here, right? So let's go inside it. Release here. Okay. And let's see what the values are there inside it. Release here. Some spelling mistake is here. Right. Let's get inside it. What happened? Info is not it. Describe. Let's describe it. What to do? What to do? And describe. You have to describe it, right? Okay. So here we have some values with us. This is the release years. So maximum we are having 2020. Okay. Minimum is 1925. Mean is somewhere around 2013. This is the median value, which is 2016. Perfect. And this is our 25, मतलब one fourth. Okay, the quarter range. Perfect. So let's go ahead. Now let's go ahead and what we will be doing. Okay, but the issue is that in my duration minute now there are NaNs, I think. So if I go inside my duration minute and describe this particular value, right? So here I'm getting the frequency, the top ones, the unique ones. Okay, perfect. This looks great. Let's see how many are there, as in like null values. The NN values are there, right? So the NN I'm looking at, right? And I'll be summing them up. Okay. So as you can see, there are 1959 values in duration minutes that are NaN, right? If we go with this, then this would be an issue because it won't be able to plot. Let's check how many are there in release years. Okay, perfect. So in release year we have 0 NaNs, but in duration we have 1959. We have to remove them, right? So we previously removed the NaNs, right? So to do that, what you have to do? You have to simply drop that particular NaNs. Okay. So what you will be doing? You will be dropping those NaN from your duration minute. Okay. So once you click on it, and you have to run it, right? Now what will change? All these values will be removed from your data frame shape, right? So previously the data shape that you had was 6209 after removing the NaN from data edit. Now we will be removing more values. So initially if you see initially the shape of our data is this, right? So if I check my shape now and run it, you can see there is a decrease in my shape because my NaNs, now I remove my NaNs. Perfect. So let's go ahead, right, and see my data frame again. I just want the top two rows only. Okay. So this is my top two rows. Perfect. Looks great. Now all I have to do is let's have two. I have to plot it. Okay. So we'll be here, right? We'll be plotting this up. Perfect. Let's go ahead and plot it out. Okay. So to plot it out, first I have to convert it into the average duration minute. So average as in like, so I will be having release year, right? So I will have like in 2019, I may have like 10-15 releases, right? Which is having some duration minutes. So I have to average them out because I am finding the average of it, right? As I mentioned it above somewhere, we will be finding the average. So there is a pretty interesting thing. There is a pretty interesting thing in pandas, right? So what we will be doing is we are grouping by these values. Okay, my duration minutes and my release years. So group by what it does is, from my release year it will be for each individual release year I will be taking the duration minutes from my data set and will be averaging them out. Okay, so let's do one thing. I will be accessing my duration average. Okay, and from my data frame I'll be doing group by. Okay, and I will be doing my group by on my which column? And what I am getting, I want the average. Okay, so let's see. It should give you the average. I hope so. Data frame, oh sorry, it should be, again I'm doing the same thing. It should be what it says. It has no group by. Okay, so it is showing us that there is no group by in data frame. Data frame object has no group by, but how is it possible? We have a data frame here, right? And okay. It is group by, GRUPY. Yeah, right. So once I run it, series group has no object average. Okay, so do I have to? I think it's average only. Well, let's see what it is. Um, Group by average pandas. Okay, it's a mean. Okay, let's change it to mean. Run it. Perfect. Now I have duration average. Have a mean of it. Let's print this thing out. And you can see for each individual year I will be having a particular mean. Perfect. So now what we have to do is simply we have to get it into the list. Okay. Dot keys. Let's see what it gets. It will give me all the release year values. Okay. Now I want all. So let's save it in a list. Let's name it as year. Okay. Now we have the average value. Now duration average. Let's name it as duration average. Okay. And save it as duration dot values. Perfect. NumPy object has no values. Okay. I think this will work if I change, because it's a NumPy, no? So let's change it to the list. It's an array already. Perfect. So if you see my duration average, let print this out. Okay. So you can see I have the average of my entire year, right? Now here is my graph. Let's plot a graph. Okay. To do the graph, I'm using a library. Okay. Library is Plotly. It's a pretty interesting library which most of the Python or data scientists use to plot the things. Okay, this is like you can go through it. It's pretty vast. Once you have like very good understanding of things, then you can go through it. You can like have check it out like what it is, right? It's pretty much you love it basically. Okay, so there are so many graphs you can see here. Okay, once you get into the doc section, let's do one thing. Let's plot the graph. Bar graph using Plotly. Okay, so you can click on it and then you will be redirected to a page which says the bar graph. Okay, there are a number of bar graphs. You can go through it and check it out. And there are patterns and there are so many things out here. You can just let's go ahead. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and print a pretty simple graph. Okay. So we have two lists we already have with us. Okay, let's print this thing. So what I have to do, I have to import Plotly, right? Import Plotly, and just do one thing. Let's copy paste this thing from here. Okay, let's place it here and change it according to our need. So we will be removing this. Okay. We need x and y axis, right? So on x-axis I will be having the years, right? So first I change it to my data. Okay. So here I will be having a data of Canada. Okay. There must be another graph. It should be something like a Go graph, which is pretty much simple and easy to plot. Here you have to define the particular. So here you have to query it out. Okay, let's go ahead and do it in our way. Okay. What I will be doing now is I will be changing the express thing. Okay, and I will be plotting it through the go method. Okay, so that is graph objects as go. Perfect. Now what we will be doing, we will be creating a figure and we will be saying go dot figure. Now I will be going to go dot bar. I need a bar graph. Then on my x I will be having years, right? And on my y I will be having duration. So this is what the visualization you will get out of this data. After pre-processing, after uploading, after removing NaNs, after doing so many things, now we will get to this graph, right? But the interesting thing is, if you visualize this thing, right? Here the average initially in 94 our movie duration average is less as compared to somewhere now, right? Somewhere in 90, 60, 70 it increases, but now it is again coming down, right? So this movie average includes the TV shows and movies both. So from the Netflix data that I downloaded online, this is the average of the duration. So using this data, I can find it out like, okay, my previous past, this is what the average was, duration average, and this is what today is different. So you can see there are so many things I have to do to get to this point, right? So most probably, today there are few things that we'll be using that are pretty much great, okay? There is something called as, you can go through it, you can check it out. It's Tabula. Tabula, okay. So Tabula basically prints some amazing graphs. Okay, we can use this particular tool. It is available online. You can download it. We will be looking into it in our future classes, right? So there is nothing you have to do. You don't need to mention all this thing, right? You don't have to